People have lived on this land for tens of thousands of years. Hunting, farming, herding, making homes, preparing food, raising children, passing along from generation to generation the customs and traditions of their ancestors. But long before people lived here, an ancient inland sea covered much of the land. Over eons of time, tremendous geologic forces buried the seabed and gradually turned plants and microscopic creatures into petroleum. For millions of years, that oil has been waiting, buried deep beneath the savanna of southern Chad. This is the story of people working together to develop that precious resource. It is a story about the hopes and wisdom of the Chadian people, about their birthright, and about a future that shines brightly with promise. This is the story we celebrate today. The dream of a better life for the impoverished people of Chad was born more than 30 years ago in the 1970s, when the oil was first found. Back then, the land that would someday become an oil field was a remote expanse of open savanna, dotted here and there by small villages. There were few roads, few trained workers, and no oil industry. For residents of the area, growing and picking cotton was one of the few ways to make money. Indeed, everyone knew the challenges to developing the oil were both many and complex.
Together, we need to demonstrate that petroleum resources can be used to lift people out of deep poverty while protecting the environment and respecting the rights of communities and individuals.
Chad's leaders decided a partnership was the only way to meet all these challenges. This decision led to the partnership that has brought us to where we are today. Chad, the owner of the oil. Cameroon, providing the pathway to the sea so the oil can be exported. A consortium of oil companies consisting of Esso, Petronas, and Chevron Texaco, with Esso serving as project operator. And the World Bank, the international institution with the mission of alleviating poverty by helping people fulfill their promise. To solidify this partnership, the project began by talking to the people who know this ancient land best, the people who live on it. Since 1993, the project has held over 4,800 consultation meetings in hundreds of villages and towns throughout the project area, which extends 1,070 kilometers from qu'en in Chad to Kribi in Cameroon.
I think that Esso has put a lot of efforts into knowing what is the real problem for these people, and they have even done more than I would expect that is necessary.
To help protect the environment, teams of scientists fanned out throughout the oil field area and along the proposed pipeline route.
What do you think? What's down in this area down south?
They studied the land, the water, the plants, and the animals. In all, 7 years of intensive study and consultation went into the development of the environmental management plan ultimately approved by the World Bank. Finally, in October 2000, ceremonies at qu'en and Kribi commemorated the start of construction.
As you can see, this is a symbol of the partnership between the two countries of Chad and Cameroon, the consortium, and the World Bank.
Immediately after the groundbreaking celebration, the first earth-moving machines wheeled into action. At the same time, the project set about complying with the commitments it made to the people of Chad and Cameroon in the Environmental Management Plan.
Dealing with high temperatures, and the pipe work is going to be hot.
One of the most important commitments was to maximize employment opportunities for Chadian and Cameroonian citizens. To help qualify Chadians for jobs as skilled workers, the project has conducted over 200,000 hours of high-level skills training in Chad alone.
ExxonMobil is keeping his promise because it trained so many national Chadians, among which I am a part of them.
Over the course of the construction effort, more than 35,000 Chadians and Cameroonians joined the workforce for varying periods of time. At the peak of construction, over 13,000 people were on the job, 3/4 of them Chadians and Cameroonians. To protect both workers and people living near project areas, comprehensive safety programs were put in place and rigorously enforced. At one point, the project logged over 50 million work hours without an on-the-job lost time incident. The health of workers and communities was also a priority. The project has implemented one of the most extensive HIV/AIDS public health education programs in the history of Central Africa. And as a part of its support for the rollback malaria program in Chad, it has donated 39,000 anti-mosquito bed nets to villagers. Some of the project's most important development partners have been local businesses in Chad and Cameroon. Through the second quarter of 2003, the project had spent 209 billion CFA, with more than 1,000 Chadian businesses since the project began. Local vendors have provided everything from computers to welding, from food to cement, from surveyors to video services.
ESSO helped us. At first, we weren't in a position to do this work because we didn't have the right equipment and the right training. ESSO agreed to work with us. They gave us a series of training sessions. They gave us substantial advances, knowing that we didn't have the capacity. Because of this project, we looked for foreign partners. We got experience. Thanks to the oil companies, we learned about new equipment we weren't familiar with. It's been a good thing for us and the country.
Compensation for land and crops has also been a crucial element of the project's commitment to protecting people in the project area. Affected landowners could choose between receiving cash or in-kind goods, such as plows, pushcarts, and grain milling machines. Each compensation session was conducted in public, completely transparent to everyone in the village to assure a fair process. So far, the project has paid over 2.2 billion CFA in compensation in Chad to more than 6,000 individuals.
Concerning compensating individuals, ESSO did what they said they would do. The people whose fields were taken were compensated. I saw it.
To make sure the environmental plan and safety guidelines were being followed, the project hired more than 150 environmental and safety monitors and stationed them throughout the oil field and along the pipeline route in Chad and Cameroon.
Regarding the environmental management plans, the promises were all kept, and they were monitored very carefully by the external compliance monitoring group.
Another of the project's challenges was ferrying every conceivable type of construction equipment and material, including 88,000 lengths of steel pipe from Europe and the United States to Douala in Cameroon. In order to move all this freight inland to project work sites, hundreds of kilometers of existing roads had to be upgraded. As part of the road building project, teams of workers constructed a large all-weather bridge across the Mberi River border between Chad and Cameroon. After nearly 12 months of arduous work, the Chadian workers celebrated the completion of the bridge in February 2002 and the opening of a major new commercial lifeline between the two countries. The improved roads made it possible for the project to move 480,000 metric tons of equipment and building material in just 2 years. Another challenge facing the development partnership was the construction of the crude oil pipeline. Crews built the pipeline from 3 construction points, starting simultaneously from Kribi and Bellabo in Cameroon, and then building the Chad portion southwest from Kome. At the same time, pump stations and other facilities were being built along the pipeline route. As the pipeline was being completed 12 kilometers off the shore of Cameroon, the last element of the oil transportation system, a floating marine terminal, was put in place. Attached to what is called a single-point mooring unit, the floating marine terminal will load tankers with the Chadian oil so it can be delivered to world markets. In a little over 2 years, months ahead of schedule, the crews had welded together a tube of steel 1,070 kilometers long from southern Chad to the marine terminal off the coast of Cameroon. Back in the oil field area, the drilling of wells began in January 2002. Chadian President Idriss Déby visited the first well himself to officially commemorate the drilling effort. While the drilling moved ahead, the oil processing facilities were being built at Kome. Many kilometers of piping, a control room, storage tanks. Literally, this has been the birth of an oil industry in Chad. All these elements have come together in a way that symbolizes the power of the project's partnership and have made possible one of its biggest accomplishments. Oil has started flowing through the pipeline 1 year earlier than the promised date. And so, after all the years of hard work, the project has developed Chad's birthright. It's oil. People have been treated fairly, the environment protected, a foundation for the future put in place. A new adventure lies ahead, a voyage into the future that will be led by the Chadian people. They will be the ones to write the next chapter in the history of Chad, the land of promise.